Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together all the different albums that I've picked up over the past week and present them to you. And I get them from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. For this past week here, I've actually got 6 things to talk to you about. It's not as many as some of my other weeks, but 6 really cool things nonetheless. So we're going to dive into that here in just a bit. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on really cool videos just like this with New Music Finds. So first one I want to talk about here is actually one that came out the week prior on April 28th of 2023. Hawkwind in their brand new album, The Future Never Waits. This one here, very cool. This is actually the band's 35th studio album, if you can believe that. And what I was just reading, you know, the band goes back to 1969, so 54 years, 35 studio albums, pretty amazing band still going along this strong into their career, and it just shows that continued progression that is the sound and style of space rock and futuristic sounds and that sort of stuff that are very cool. We've still got in here Dave Brock, vocals and guitar going all the way back to 1969. He's the only core original member left in the group, but we've also got Richard Chaddock in here, and he joined the band in '88. He's on drums and vocals, so he's been a long time member. We got 3 other guys rounding out the lineup there, and newer members and whatnot, but they definitely do a nice job in here. I highly recommend checking out this album. I found it to be pretty cool. Definitely the 10-minute opener, the instrumental track that's on here, just sort of kicks things off in fine fashion, eases you right into the album, and you just kind of go from there with all 10 tracks that are on it. So I definitely recommend that if you are a fan of Hawkwind and you want to check out something a little different in that space rock style. All right, so moving on though to just this past Friday, May 5th, 5 really cool albums came out. One of the ones that I was super excited for, could not wait to get after 9 long years of waiting, was the brand new album from Winger, 7. This one here, super duper good. I mean, I really enjoyed this album. It's one of those ones that when I listened to it right up front, nothing immediately grabbed me, although I really liked each of the tracks, but it was one of those ones that I immediately wanted to play again and again and so forth. So this album here I think is going to have a lot of life in it, and just that it doesn't wear out quickly. It's got a lot of depth to it. The band Winger, while coming up in the glam metal era and all that sort of stuff, definitely had progressive roots in what they did, and their music is far more interesting and complex than a lot of the bands that they came up with at that time and so forth, and maybe unfairly pigeonholed as just simply glam metal, because they are really so much more than that. But this album here, really very good stuff on it. Definitely recommend you checking that out as well. Now, another big one that came out that, while excited for, I didn't have very high hopes for it, because what I first heard from it didn't grab me, but once I got it, really enjoyed this thing. The brand new Smashing Pumpkins album called Atum, a rock opera in 3 acts. It is a triple album, 33 tracks. This is just a slipcase sleeve on this thing that comes off, and then there's the sort of real album cover of it. And when you slide that off, you can actually see all the track listing on it. If you saw when I was doing the New Music Now and I was unboxing the stuff right as I got it, I was expecting this thing to be the 43-song version of it that had been talked about, a box set version of this coming out of the triple album. Each album is 11 songs, 33 songs total, and then there was supposed to be a box set edition with 10 additional tracks for 43 songs. Well, it turns out those 10 extra tracks are only on the LP box set version, and I was so bummed to find that out. This album in and of itself, very good. I really like it. I've done a full review of this. I'll leave a link in the description for it if you want to check it out. But this is definitely the best thing that the reunion era lineup of the band has done since getting back together, either the 2007 reunion era or the 2018 reunion era of the band. This one here, very, very good. And it's got a great return to form hard rock sound to it on a lot of the tracks that you probably grew up enjoying and loving off of Siamese Dream, Gish, and Melancholy and stuff like that. So definitely worth it checking out for those on here. All right, and still got some other cool stuff that came out. One of the newer metal bands that's in the more traditional vein of things, a group called Enforcer. And this album here called Nostalgia came out on Nuclear Blast Records. If you're in the vein of traditional metal, early era Judas Priest and bands like that and stuff, I definitely recommend checking this out. I like this sort of stuff. There's not a lot of these kind of bands out there, but there's ones that come out every so often that play that old style traditional metal that when you hear it, you think this has got to be something out of the 80s or the late 70s, and it's not. It's actually a newer band doing it, and Enforcer's one of those groups, so definitely worth checking that out too. All right, and then another one I picked up is new wave of British heavy metal legends, Tigers of Pan Tang and this is Bloodlines. This is some really good stuff off here. I know I say this each time I talk about Tigers, but they're one of those bands that I think have gotten better as they've gone on. Well, Winger's another one of those groups too, where their newer stuff that they're doing I think is better than the 80s. And Tigers is the same way. And I know they had John Sykes in the lineup back then. And I do enjoy that music, but I have to say that the music that they're producing today is so good. It's just on another level. And it's different than that, but it's very good. And I really enjoy what Tigers are doing. We've only got one original member left, the guitarist Rob Ware. He's still with the lineup today. But the other guys that have come in, that have fleshed out the lineup, and it's been a pretty stable lineup, I think, for over a decade or so now, they're just doing a tremendous job. And I highly recommend, if you were ever a fan of Tigers in the past, or if you've just been hit or miss here or there with various albums and things, the newer stuff that they've been doing in the last decade is so good. And this album here, case in point, you could start with this. If you've never listened to Tigers, it is just one of those ones you could pick up on any one of their releases of this later date era stuff. But I like this one a lot. It's good, and I would recommend it. Moving on, one of the ones that I wasn't expecting much from, but then actually found that I really enjoyed, was the solo album from Dave Lombardo, former Slayer drummer, former Suicidal Tendencies drummer, currently drumming with the Misfits, and just lots of other projects and things of that. And this is a solo album where he wrote, recorded, and produced it himself. No lyrics in it. It's instrumental. It is basically drum soloing, but there's some atmospheric keyboard stuff and things that go on within it. And I'd heard a couple of the singles that got released from this thing, and I sort of thought, well, it's going to be cool to put on. I give it one listen, kind of be done with it. But this was a thing where I put it on, and next thing I knew, I was 5 tracks into it and still enjoying it. And each one is very different. They're not just, the same thing throughout kind of stuff where you don't even get a sense of when the tracks are changing and that sort of stuff. But this album here, it's got a lot of character to it. Also very much like the album cover there with the sort of symbol, and then we've got Dave down here and just some cool stuff happening in it. Not much in the way of information, no booklet or anything of that nature, but then again, as I said, it's written, recorded, and produced by Dave Lombardo. What else is there to know about it? So I guess there doesn't need to be a lot of liner notes when there's that. But very cool. It's on the Ipeka label, which does a lot of very unique sounding things, noise, ambient style albums and things of that nature. So again, seeing that didn't make me think this was going to be very much, but in the end of the day, I very much enjoyed it. So while I ended up only getting 6 things this past week here, each one of these turned out to be really good, and I would highly recommend all of these. In particular, I'm absolutely loving this brand new Winger album 7, so I definitely recommend that. And for those of you that have been longing for the more hard rock sound of Smashing Pumpkins, this new triple album does it in all 3 discs. I can listen to any one of those discs and they're good. I don't lose interest partway through on that sort of thing. So very good stuff there. And just jumping back to the 28th, because we didn't get it in during that week of release, the Hawkwind is a nice one there to be checking out as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of New Music Finds and seeing what I've picked up. And if you were on the fence about any one of these, maybe this helps you decide one way or the other. I'm sure you got some great things too, so let me know what that is, and certainly enjoy all of your new music, and go out and search out and check out the stuff that I talked about if you're unfamiliar with it. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so I only thought things were done there. As I was turning off the camera and closing things down, I found one more that I had. Angel Sinful, their 1979 album. This one here, a Rock Candy Records reissue. If you had watched last week's episode, you saw that I'd actually picked up a couple other Angel releases, On Earth as It Is in Heaven and Live Without a Net. So I was just continuing that on and picking up the one final Angel album that I didn't have, this one, and really enjoying it. And that, of course, all goes back to their most recent new album, which is a little different in vein. I find the new Angel music to be more melodic rock and hard rock and stuff, and less of the progressive fare than of the stuff in the 70s. But yeah, I definitely wanted to go back and check that stuff out, so I also picked this up. So instead of only 6 releases like I just mentioned, it was actually 7. So I did want to tune you back in for that. So, all right, hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.